How's it going? My name is Nigel and welcome to another episode of Nigel's Code Explorer. This video is part 2 of the narcissistic problem, where I'll be working on this with Excel VBA. If you want to watch the first part where I work on the same problem with JavaScript, the link is going to be right up here. Otherwise, let's get started. So this problem is the same. We're basically trying to find if a number that's passed into this method is a narcissistic number. And a narcissistic number is a number of length n in which the sum of its digits to the power of n is equal to the original number. So basically we have 153, we are separating into its digits, we're raising it to the power of 3 plus, and we're going to sum it all up and it should equal to its original number. Okay, write a method which takes in an integer and returns a boolean. Let's get started on this. So first of all, we need the game plan. And the game plan is going to be the same, right? We have a number and we need to split, and we need to change the number into a string, and then we're going to split the string into an array, and then we're going to transform the array by raising each element to the power of its length. And lastly, we're going to sum up all of the elements in the array. Okay, so we have a module, and let's get started on writing our sub test. We're going to call this function is narcissistic. I'm going to pass in 153. Let's go ahead and write our function. Function is narcissistic. I'm going to pass in by value so that we don't mutate the number, and we're going to return a boolean. Okay, so first of all, we need an array. Let's say dim my array and as string. Oops. Okay, so we're going to write our function. So let's start with declaring our function. Function is narcissistic 153. Sorry, by value number as boolean. So in Excel VBA, there's two kinds. We can either pass it in with by reference or by value. So I choose to pass in by value for this function, just to prevent any mutation of the number that's passed in. Excel does by reference by default. Okay, so we need to have an array as string. And in Excel VBA, there are two kinds of arrays. The first kind is a static, which means that the length of the array or the size of the array has already been determined, whereas a dynamic array, its size is not set in stone. It can change, which will give us more flexibility when we are working with this problem. Okay, so first of all, we have a number, and we need to change this into a string so that we can call the split function on it. So we can do this if we do cstr number, and we can call in this inbuilt function split. And if we pass in this delimiter, we should expect this number to be separated into its own chars. However, in Excel VBA, that is not the case. And let me show you. Debug.print my array, and if I print the value of the first index of my array, in other languages you will expect the zero index to be 1, because we are trying to split it up with based on its chars. In Excel VBA, that is not the case. Let me show you. If I run this function, you'll notice that the 0 index of my array holds 153. So that means that this function does not account for separating a string into its chars. So that means we have to build our own function. And I'm going to call splitIntoChars. Okay. And let's go ahead and write this custom function. We're going to go insert another module. And let's go ahead and rename it as string functions. And let's declare a public function splitIntoChars. We're going to take a text and take by value text. And it should return a string. Notice that I placed 2 parentheses at the end of string just because the return value of this will be assigned to an array, and the array is a type string. But notice that it's an array, so we need to return it as sort of an array but of string type. Okay, so let's go ahead and declare and initialize an array. Again, we're going to need to declare it as a string type. So in Excel VBA, there are 2 kinds of arrays. Again, we want to, right now, we don't know. Okay, when we pass in the text, we want an array that will be able to hold the value of each char of the text. However, if we try to set the size of the array from the length of the text, we'll have a problem. So that's because for the size of the array, it has to be a constant expression. But if we do len text, you'll notice that it'll have a problem. And oh, I see why. I'm gonna remove that. Okay, let me call it again. And you'll notice that constant expression required. So we cannot do this. So what we can do instead is we can declare this as a dynamic array and then redimension the array with a new size. And we're going to do len text -1. Oops. So when we are redimensioning the array, the value that's passed in is the upper bound of the index of the array. What that means is that when we pass in len text, which is going to return 3 -1, so we pass in 2, what that means is that the highest index of my array will be 2. And you know that in arrays, the starting index will be 0. So if we pass in 2, my array will actually be able to hold 3 values because of index 0, index 1, index 2. So that's why we have to -1 to get 2, so that this array only holds 3 values. Once we have that, we need to loop through the text. Okay, to len text. Okay, what's going to happen here is that, let's just say we have a string apple. and we're basically going to iterate through every char of the text. So first index, second index, third index, and we're going to assign it to my array. And notice that for text, the index starts with 1, whereas for arrays, the index starts with 0. So that's why I put 1 for the starting index. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say my array I minus 1, because we want to start off at index 0. So it'll be 1 minus 1 will be equals to 0. And we need to iterate through the text. So before that, let me just check to make sure that everything works. So I'm just going to do text, and then I'm going to print my array 0. I'm going to go ahead and call this function. Oops. There we have it. Everything works. However, this is a little bit inconvenient for us. So what I mean by that is, let's just say in other languages we can just print off the whole array. In Excel VBA we cannot do that. So let me demonstrate. So if I'm trying to print off the whole entire array, it's going to throw me an error. So if I click play, notice that it says type mismatch. So we cannot print the whole array at once. So this is inconvenient. So let's go ahead and fix this problem. If we create a custom function, printArray, which is going to print off all the values in the array. So I'm going to pass in my array. And let's create another module. Module 2, and I'm going to rename this as array functions. So public function print array. I'm just going to do by, you know what, it doesn't really matter, my array. Okay, so basically it's pretty simple. We're going to iterate through the array. And debug.print my array and print off its values. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. There we have it. So it prints off all of the values of the array. Okay, so now let's go ahead and iterate through each text. And we have a function for that. Let's go ahead and check that out. It's called a mid function. So mid function Excel VBA. The mid function in Excel VBA is kind of like a substring method or a slice method in JavaScript or in Ruby. So notice that it's an inbuilt function, and the syntax is this. It takes in the text, the starting position, as well as the number of characters. This is an optional argument. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So if we do mid text, again, the starting index of a string is 1, so we can just do index 1 and just 1 character. Now let's go ahead and print my print array, and let's see what's happening. Let's go ahead and clear this off. There we have it. It's printing off all of the values of the array. So once we have that, we need to transform my array into a new array with each of its values multiplied, raised to the power of its length. So we can do that by calling in a function. I'm going to call it as raise to power. Raise length power. Okay, I'm going to pass in this array. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this function. Public function raise length power, right? Raise length power, yeah. And we're going to actually do by reference array, and okay, what this means is that when we pass in array, we are passing in the reference. So whatever changes that's going to happen to array within this function will mutate the array. So let's just say, for example, for I is equals to 0 to upper bound array plus no, I have to plus 1. Next, okay, we can say array I is equals to array I raised to the power of its length. So we can say upper bound, you know what, I want to do this, oops, I'm going to separate this out, dim length as integer, and I'm going to say integer, sorry, dim length is equals to upper bound array plus 1. So now I can say to length, and then we can then say raise to the power of length. There we have it. Okay, let's go ahead and test and see if everything is fine. And if I call this, it's an error. Debug. Let's see. Okay, I know why. If we go to the string functions, let's see, split. Yeah, we did not return my array to the function itself. Split into chars. Split into chars, my array. Yeah. So previously there was no return value, so now we fixed this. Let's go ahead and check it out, and let me see. Oops. Length is equals to upper bound array. Okay, and we'll fix this. Okay, now everything should work. There we have it. Okay, so it was transformed. Let's go ahead and fix this a little bit. The length plus 1. So length in this case will be 2, since the highest index of this array is 2. So raise it up 2 plus 1 to the power of 3. So now everything should be fine. Let's see. There we have it. The array is now mutated, and each of its elements is now raised to the power of 3. Now all we need to do is to sum it up. So let's go ahead and declare a new local variable, dim total as I'm just going to put long. Okay, and then let's say total is equals to sum all elements. Okay, so nothing fancy here. We're just going to call a custom function which will iterate through every element in the array and just sum it up to a running total. So let's go on to array functions, and then I'm just going to declare a new function, public function sum all elements. It's going to take in an array and it will return a long. So dim, let's see, I'm going to declare dim size as integer, dim total as long, and for I is equals to 0 to size. No, hold on a second. I don't even need the size. Well, yeah, the size. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna do length, just to keep it the same. Length. There we have it. And let's do next. I. We'll just do total equals to total plus array I, and then we'll just return the total. Sum all elements equals to total. There we have it. Okay, now let's go ahead and make sure everything works. Call this function, and there we have it. The total is 153. So let's go ahead and return this to the function itself. But we need to return a boolean, so this has to equal to number. Now let's see. Go ahead and remove this. Oops. There we have it. We have true. I don't need this. And let's go ahead and create a couple more test cases. I believe 370 is true and whatever else is false. And now let's go ahead and call all of this. Clear. And let's call. And there we have it. They all pass. So true equals to true, true equals to true, and false equals to false. All these test cases returns true. Therefore, we have fulfilled the requirement of this problem with Excel VBA. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please like this video, or better still, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any updates from me. Otherwise, I will see you guys soon in another video. Thank you so much.